If you want to see lower tuition fees, you need to give us ideas. That's the message Lincoln MP Carl McCartney has sent to students today. In an interview with LSJ News, he said that the National Union of Students need to present viable alternatives for funding. He's also said that if he were a student today, he wouldn't be protesting against tuition fees in London next Wednesday.
No, I wouldn't actually, and that's one of the things I think I've seen. Obviously, the NUS president who actually came up to Lincoln during the election campaign. I've seen him on the television, and I've got to say to him, come up with some credible alternatives. Tell me what your alternatives are. I don't think he's got any. You have to accept that what the Labour government was not good for this country. There isn't a lot of money in the pot.
Well, Darren Moss was watching that in our newsroom. Darren, what have the Students' Union said?
Well, Simon, the Students' Union have responded in kind. In a statement, they've said it is rather clear over recent months that Mr McCartney's uninformed responses on fees and education funding show a clear lack of his understanding of the issues. It's also worth noting that what the government is asking students to do, to pay nearly £9,000 per year for a university education, is likely to send many people running away from the university opportunities.
OK, and what would McCartney have paid for his education?
Well, Mr McCartney went to what is now the University of Wales to study geography back in 1988. Of course, the interesting thing is that both he and many of his colleagues in the Houses of Parliament wouldn't have had to pay for their university education, as tuition fees back then simply didn't exist. This has led many people to persuade the argument that if they didn't have to pay, why should we?
Thank you, Darren. The Terence Higgin Trust is an active service set up to encourage chlamydia checks. Recent statistics show that 70% of chlamydia cases come from young people between the ages of 15 to 24. The Trust are working with the Student Union to target this audience.
Terence Higgins Trust, we've been working in Lincoln for about 9 or 10 months now with NHS Lincolnshire. When we first started working, the rates of chlamydia were around about 1 in 8 people were coming out positive. Now they're down to 1 in 12, which obviously is a great success.
What do you think about mental illness? This week, Gemma Coburn looks at discrimination against those who suffer.
There are an estimated 100,000 people in Lincolnshire who have mental health needs, and out of those, the most common are anxiety and depression. But many are often discriminated against because of it and feel ashamed. Jonathan Douglas, managing advocate of a mental health charity in Lincoln, explained how stigma can affect those suffering.
It's just an ignorance there and a lack of understanding, and I think that really affects people. And sometimes we work with a lot of people that have problems because they feel quite isolated. But of course, if society in general doesn't understand you and views you as a bit different and then doesn't want to sort of interact with you or have anything to do with you, that just kind of compounds the issue.
As some people often have to wait months to get referred for help in the county, it can be a difficult wait. Emma Freeman has suffered from manic depression for 6 years and explained how people react to her and others who have had mental health problems.
People still have a problem. You know, they don't want to get involved in someone that seems complicated and messy.
This is Gemma Coburn for Lincoln News.
A service in Lincolnshire that helps underprivileged children could close because of spending cuts. The Family Intervention Service visits families and helps them get back on their feet. So, Josh Jackson joins us from the newsroom live now. Josh, what impact do they make?
Well, they make quite a strong impact here. As you'll see in a VT later, they really do help with schools and everything across the board. They don't just go into the family, they also go in and prevent crime for the youths and go and help working with charities everywhere. I spoke to Tracy Rainey at the Arborough School, and she thinks that FIS helps no bounds.
Well, without FIT, the TAC would have been a waste of time because, and I'm sure Josephine will tell you this herself, she just would not engage with any agencies, school especially. We seem to be the enemy. She also had her own problems where she didn't feel she could leave the house, but she kept it all to herself. Now with FIT being involved, she's got a regular person in yourself who she's been able to build up trust with. You've been then able to get her into school, and I've been able to build up trust with her, and she's a totally different person now.
So as you can see, they make a lot of impact there and help not only just families but the schools. Back to you, Simon.
Thank you, Josh. Gone. How would you like to own a painting from one of the most notorious criminals in British history? Well, Layla Fitt tells you how you can do just that.
Twin brothers Ronnie and Reggie Cray were the foremost perpetrators of organised crime in London. The brothers were involved in armed robberies, arson and violent assaults, including torture. So is it right to sell their paintings on?
It's a difficult one, really. I think, throughout auction history, people have been selling things that belong to infamous people. Adolf Hitler, there's a good, strong market for things relating to him, yes, I don't see a great problem in selling them. They're not personally gaining from it.
The auction will take place at Thomas More's in Lincoln on Friday 5th and Saturday 6th November. John Lee believes the paintings will go for several thousand.